Hey everybody, welcome back. Let's binge some wedding drama that belongs on TV. They all wore white. This was posted in the Charlotte Dobre YouTube subreddit, which officially has 74,000 members at the time of this recording. The tea is hot today, my friends. It's been 2 years. Maybe I am healed enough to share this. I sincerely hope so. Me and my husband got married in 2022 in September and had a Lord of the Rings theme, which everyone thought was lame, but it has always been my dream. Since I was young, I've been obsessed with Elvish from Lord of the Rings culture and wanted an Elvish wedding. I mean, I'm sorry, have you seen the elves from Lord of the Rings? Are you all like blonde and gorgeous too? My then fiance was just happy to marry me, and his only request was for his own outfit and most of the food, but the ceremony and details were up to me. He does, however, have lots of female relatives who were very interested in the wedding planning. His mother especially, as he's an only child and she was never married. Why do I feel like this is not going to end well? So she basically wants to plan a wedding that she never had. Got it. Let's see if my prediction is correct. I was excited to have help, but our first meeting, they were not thrilled about the theme. His mom suggested the theme to be Bridgerton. So this isn't even just like, we don't like theme weddings. It's like, no, we don't like your theme. We'll go with a different theme that we like for the wedding that isn't ours. Their whole group had thrown some wine watch parties watching the show. My sisters were there and they even got excited about Bridgerton and tried to convince me against my nerdy dream wedding. Tried to convince you. I think that people mean well for the most part, but it's funny how people like push you in certain directions to have your wedding in a way that they would like. I think if the bride and the groom ask your opinion, then you could give your opinion. But if nobody asked, I like Bridgerton as much as the next woman, and that Duke is so handsome, but I said the theme was decided. Stick to your guns, babes. So his mother said that if we didn't do Bridgerton, they were all leaving. Good. I stood my ground while my mom and sisters tried to calm things down. It ended with his mother and family members leaving. Oh no, don't leave. My sisters had my back and my mom was proud of me for standing up for myself. Yeah, it's one thing if they're like, oh, like I didn't realize you wanted to do a theme wedding. Are we like spitballing here? Maybe there's like some other things that you might like doing. Like, here's an idea. It's not that kind of environment. We're not ideating someone's wedding that isn't yours. It is not up for discussion. I planned the wedding without his side of the family, though they left lots of voicemails calling me stubborn or begging me to let her have this. Oh, you are Delulu. You are drinking the Delulu lemonade. I got the feeling they were just backing her up out of loyalty as the messages had an apologetic tone to them. It's not her wedding. Go and have like a Bridgerton theme party, but don't bring that into someone else's wedding. I didn't tell my husband a thing because he's the type to get overwhelmed and get rid of the problem, which in this case would have meant uninviting a large chunk of his guests. Instead, I sent out the invitation with the dress code colors, forest green and dark gray. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. I asked his close cousin if she was interested in being a bridesmaid. She said she couldn't and asked if it was too late to do the theme his mother wanted. Oh my God, actually me now. What is wrong with people? Are people okay? Are you okay? This is so delusional. I said I would rather marry him at the courthouse than have any other wedding than the one I dreamed of for years. He had told me I could do my Lord of the Rings theme as his yes was stronger than 1,000 no's. The harassment got worse, and then as the date grew closer, radio silence. Keep in mind, my side of the family was a great help. My bridesmaids were all in their capilettes and dresses, and I had my custom elf ears touched up by a friend. This is so great. I bet the photos are gonna be epic. Since my friends all like the same nerdy stuff I do, the theme was exciting for them. The day comes and I'm ready to walk down the aisle after my makeup, and I was dressed in my perfect sparkly white dress and silver cape with my hair in jewels. Oh, I bet you look stunning. Like, I'm sorry, Elvish women are just like, I walked in and straight away my eyes were on my husband. It wasn't until the reception that it occurred to me that a large percentage of women at my wedding were wearing white dresses. Deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. I forgot to breathe there for a second. They were wedding dress adjacent, and the shock caused me to drop my bouquet. My mom confronted his mom about it, and the response his mom gave was that the dress was gray, like the invite stated. It was white. They all gave the same story. And though most people besides them were wearing forest green, easier to find, a few were wearing the correct gray, which is easily distinguishable from white. My sister said she would go to the dollar store and get grape juice and a super soaker to get all the white dresses. And my mom suggested we kick them out, but I decided not to do either. I mean, honestly, in doing this, all they did was make themselves look really, really like before it was like, okay, this can just be like some, tiff that we had, whatever. But like your husband is now gonna be like, what was that? I'm sorry, but in this scenario, there is no excuse to show up in droves all wearing white to someone else's wedding. You look like a butthead. It did cause a major scene, as not only were there 8 women in bridal white, but they all seemed so uncomfortable with it that they stuck out like sore thumbs. What the hell did your mother-in-law do? Is she like holding them hostage or something? Like, why are they all guilt-tripped? See, this is the thing. This type of woman probably gets her way all the time. Maybe she's super nice, or, maybe she kind of holds money over people's heads. Everybody's always trying to appease her. Either that, or she's holding their husbands hostage.
Both.
Because why would you agree to this? Watching them squirm as multiple people approached to ask if they were playing a special role in the wedding, as my dress is white but with lots of silver and looked less like a wedding gown than theirs did. It was so satisfying. They'd all obviously gotten a dress that looked as close to the ones from Bridgerton as possible and were matching well, so it looked like there was some element of the wedding that people hadn't been clued in on. Yeah, I didn't get the cunt memo either. Most of their partners had given me tight, uncomfortable smiles, and my wedding party was pissed, while the guests were genuinely trying to figure out what the white dresses were for, especially as the night went on and people helped themselves to the open bar. The white dresses are a canvas. Get out your Sharpies! In the following 2 months, I received an apology card along with a very expensive item off my registry from everyone who wore a white dress, so that's a bonus. I just fail to understand why they would do something that they know is wrong just to make your mother-in-law happy. For what? Because you wanted to dress up like you're the cast of Bridgerton? Throw your own party for that. Don't commandeer someone's wedding because you want to dress up in a Bridgerton dress. I still use the juicer his aunt who wore feathers gave me. I wish I could have gotten a Ninja Creamy though. Ugh, those look really good. I was seeing one of those on TikTok and that protein ice cream looks really good. Maybe you could kind of be like, well, I'm not talking to you until you get me a Ninja Creamy. Guilt is a powerful thing, my friends. Even his mom apologized, which I found out was my husband's doing. He threatened to cut off anybody who didn't make it right with me.
I am the one who knocks.
I told him he didn't have to, and he said I'm the one getting married. So I deserved the wedding, and they can throw whatever wedding they want when they're getting married. And if the time comes, they would be mad if I wore a wedding dress to their day. That's crazy to me. I hope you're healed from that, because wow. Definitely made for a good story. I kind of wish you would have told your husband sooner. He should have shut that down. I'm glad he did when he finally found out. Yeah, he could have done that, but it would have been like, it's not that bad. Maybe he's also kind of under your mother-in-law's thumb, and maybe it would not have turned out in the same way. They fully embarrassed themselves. They look like the villain right now. This is not just some simple argument that got out of hand. If there's one thing that I do not tolerate, it is malicious intent. It is really hard to discern whether something was done maliciously, right? Everybody kind of thinks, well, I'm not the villain in this story. Everybody tries to justify why they behave the way they do. But this is pretty clear that there was malicious intent behind this. How else are you gonna explain that? I actually like that they embarrassed themselves by trying to upstage the bride. This is what I'm saying. You look mean and stupid. If there was anyone that was gonna be on your side after this argument, they are not on your side anymore. Yes, I'm glad they weren't uninvited. Once everyone saw them for who they really are, a controlling narcissist and her weak followers, OP wouldn't have to ever explain any in-law craziness. Yeah, I think there is a villain in this story, and it's pretty obvious who it is.
It's not you. It's me.
I love that the bride nixed any dress staining shenanigans. Their self-imposed discomfort was the best revenge. You definitely could have done some staining. It's one thing to spill a glass of wine on one of them accidentally. It's another to have 8 people show up all wearing white, and then what are you gonna do? Have a food fight? No, you're not. Hold your head high, my dear. Delicious. Let's move on. They switched the brides. This is a story my aunt has told me many times growing up. However, I didn't really fully believe her until I met the people who the story was about, and they told me the rest of it. All names have, of course, been changed. Thank you very much. I'm not trying to get sued on this lovely day. So, buckle in, ladies and gents, because this is a doozy. About a good 40 years ago, at least, in the early 80s, when my Aunt Nora was living in the Middle East, she was invited to a wedding by her co-worker and longtime friend, who was getting married to a man her father had picked for her. At the time, especially in that area, arranged marriages were a common practice, where two families would combine their wealth by having their children marry, therefore increasing their social stature in the community. My aunt's friend Jasmine, 21 at the time, who was getting married, had invited my aunt to take place in the events of the week leading up to the wedding. While spending the week with Jasmine, my Aunt Nora noticed that the bride was not very excited to be getting married.
Yay, can't wait to marry someone I don't even know.
Said no one ever. Well, maybe some people. You know, if it's a cultural thing, they might be okay with it. And sometimes it works out. At the beginning, it's like, who is this person that I'm spending the rest of my life with? Furthermore, every time the groom, Ali, 22 years old, would come to see his bride, he would seem very distant and preoccupied with something else. Or someone else. He would always be wandering off or disappearing for hours when they were supposed to be spending time together or choosing things for their wedding. Turns out Ali, the groom, was actually in love with Jasmine's younger sister, Nessie, 19 years old. I'm always right.
It's exhausting being right all the time, but like, what can you do?
They had been in a secret relationship for a bit over 6 months. When Ali went to his father asking to marry a daughter of that family, his father automatically thought he meant the oldest sister, as was tradition, and arranged the marriage to the wrong sister. Ooh. I feel like we could have been a little more specific.
Who will be getting married?
When Ali found out his father had arranged the marriage, he was beyond happy, but soon found out it was to the wrong sister. When he met her 2 weeks before the wedding had been arranged. When he went to speak to his father about the mistake that had occurred, his father told him what is done, and he will marry the woman they had picked out for him or forfeit his wealth, title, and would be shunned from the family. Yeah, I guess maybe like the assets probably go to the oldest sister, but like, do they get assets? I don't know, because she's a woman, right? So would she get assets? Since he wasn't left with much of a choice, he was forced to go on with the wedding to the wrong sister. 2 nights before the wedding, all the bridesmaids and the bride were all taken to a hotel near where the wedding venue was. They were 5 altogether: the bride, her sister, their 2 cousins, and my aunt. That night, they put together a plan that would save Jasmine and let Nessie marry the man she loved. Ooh! It's having a little powwow. We're gonna move in the shadows. Let's do it. In their tradition, it's known that 48 hours before the wedding, the bride and groom are taken to different houses or hotels to be apart. The only time that they would see each other again is at the wedding, when the bride's veil was lifted. Before that, the bride's face would be completely covered. Ooh! I love this. This sounds like it should be in Bollywood, honestly. Since Jasmine and Nessie looked almost exactly alike, being sisters, they decided to switch places. That night, my Aunt Nora also bought her and Jasmine plane tickets to take them to Greece. So the day of the wedding finally arrives. And as traditionally known, in front of the hotel stand a fleet of cars to accompany the bride to her wedding. In these vehicles, there's usually the groom's side in the closer cars and the bridesmaids in separate cars. By now, the bridesmaids had managed to make Nessie look almost identical to her older sister, put her in the dress, and sent her to the wedding, while Nora and Jasmine switched their fancy dresses into plainer clothing, covered their faces, and got into a cab on the way to the airport. Woo! This is some diabolical shit. According to Jasmine's cousins, no one noticed at the beginning that the brides were switched. The only person who knew was Ali, and only when he lifted the veil and realized he'd actually married his true love. Oh, this is lovely. Dare I say it almost sounds too good to be true? By the time that the veil was lifted, Jasmine and Aunt Nora were both on their way to Greece, where Jasmine lives to this day, happily married to the woman of her dreams. Oh, plot twist! My Aunt Nora visits her every couple of years when she can and is the godmother to her 2 beautiful children. As for Ali and Nessie, they live happily ever after in Italy, where they don't have to follow their family's traditions anymore and they can just live their lives. But like, what happened when the dad found out? From what I understood, the families were furious when they realized they'd been fooled and that the brides had been switched. But by then, all the couples were happy and no one really cared what they thought, since both their daughters no longer lived in the area and could no longer be controlled by tradition. This sounds like a really fabulous movie. You should write this. OP says, I wish. However, it's not my story to write. My aunt is writing a book about the story after waiting 40 years and getting the okay from the sisters. That was one hell of a story. All right, I got one more for you. Story time with Charlotte is not over yet. Mother of the bride tries to seduce the groom, but it backfires in her face. Hi, Charlotte. Huge fan. Love the new Reddit page and love reading the never-ending tea that my fellow potatoes have to offer. Now on to the tea that I am here to share. About a year ago, my 25 male best friend, 26 female, let's call her Kara, got married to her fiance, 26 male. Let's call him John. For a bit of background, Kara was an only child and grew up facing a lot of judgment from her mother. Her mother, Karen, was very vain and described herself as the best of the best. Karen would constantly compare herself to Kara and would judge her on her appearance, grades, achievements, etc. Kara, being the absolute queen she was, didn't let mother's constant judgment put her down in any way. She knew her goals and worked very hard in order to achieve them. Whenever Kara had a setback, her dad always was there to comfort and support her, while her mother scoffed and rolled her eyes. The mother of the bride sounds like an evil stepmother, but no, she's your mother. This behavior led Kara to slowly distance herself from her mother over the years, so that she wouldn't have to be bombarded with her mother's judgment. When we graduated and went to college, they rarely spoke unless it was during the holidays. Fast forward a couple of years and the pandemic hit. With social distancing regulations, my friend couldn't have been happier. Anybody miss social distancing? I still social distance. Stay the f away from me. Zoom out. If I can smell you, you're too close. Eventually, after restrictions loosened, me, Kara, and a few others went to a nice restaurant to chat and catch up. As dinner ended, the waiter informed us that the bill had been covered by someone else. We were all shocked and confused as to who paid our bill. Turns out it was my friend's coworker, John, who was there with his friends that night, and he noticed her. She collaborated with him on a project for the company and got to know him quite a bit. We thanked John for his kind gesture, and Kara actually exchanged numbers with him. Soon they began talking more and more frequently. They began dating almost a month after that dinner and really connected with each other. Like, this is like honestly very old Hollywood. It's only happened to me like a couple times in my life, but like when a guy or a group of guys send over a round of drinks from like across the bar, the waitress is like,
These are from those guys over there.
and you like look over and they're like, and then sometimes they're cute. That's classy. I'm sorry, but like you got my attention. It has worked on me. If you see her out, send over a nice little martini or something. Or just like, no, you know what you do? You check to see what she's drinking, okay? Because maybe she's not drinking. You don't want to send over something that she doesn't like. You go and you ask the server and you're like, bestie,
what is that lady over there at the end of the bar drinking?
and they say, tell you. And then they come back to you and they tell you. And then you send over another round. And not only for her friends too. Classy.
Do I look like I'm made of money?
They began dating almost a month after that dinner and really connected with each other. They had shared common interests, rom-coms and animals. Ooh, a boy that likes rom-coms. Ooh, marry him immediately. And they grew closer and closer each day. When Kara introduced John to her family, everyone loved him, including her mother, which seemed quite odd considering she judged anyone or anything that came her way. Karen seemed to be really interested in John and would interact with him whenever she got the chance. Ooh, cringe. Again, real fishy. Fortunately, Kara told John about Karen's constant judgment. There's nothing worse in this world than a jealous woman. Like, I'm telling you right now, jealous women will put your life in danger because they want a guy that you like, or, you know, they need male validation. They secretly have it out for you. They will literally try and it in your heart. Quoting Louis C.K., that is not my joke. But to have your mother be the jealous woman, that is like hell on earth. Kara and John would eventually get engaged, and when she broke the news to her mother, again, Karen was surprisingly thrilled.
Ooh, goody. Can't wait to ruin my daughter's life.
My friend invited me to be the man of honor, to which I gladly accepted. Throughout the wedding planning, Karen was very critical of Kara and the wedding as if it was her own. To Karen, it was either the color scheme was tacky, the seating chart was messed up, and the roles in the wedding were all wrong. Nothing ever seemed to be up to her standards. Even when Kara was trying on wedding dresses, her mom had something to say about each one. Kara at this point was barely tolerating Karen and was just so fed up. Karen commented on one dress, saying the dress would look better on her than Kara because it was meant for a much more appealing woman. Oh my God. You're not as appealing as you think, Karen. You sound kind of unappealing, honestly. You sound kind of yucky. Oh Oh, hell no. I was fed up with her to the point that I asked her if anything appealing would ever come out of her mouth because me and everyone else were done listening to her bullcrap. She backed off finally after she received many death stares and side eyes from the wedding party. Even the people at the dress shop were side-eyeing Karen. My friend found a dress that looked absolutely amazing on her, and she knew it was the one. Karen protested, complaining about the dress, to which Cara just told her to shut up. See, with those kinds of people, it's like,
Don't you want me to be honest? Like, I'm just being honest.
you don't like anything. Fast forward to the wedding, everything's in place, and people begin to file in for the ceremony. Note that the color scheme for the wedding was ocean blue and turquoise. Karen shows up in a tight race car red dress. Okay, I think that you could probably wear red to a wedding if you wanted to, unless there's like some sort of subtext there. Is like, it's an obvious, right? Like if you don't really like know the bride and the groom or whatever, and like, or you know, you're friends with them, it's like nobody's gonna read into it, but I would read into that, especially because it's tight.
That's what she said.
Nobody notices, and for a while she disappears. 15 minutes before the ceremony, people are wondering where the groom is, when all of a sudden someone very loudly yells for help. Me, Cara's in-laws, Cara's dad rush over to where the noise is coming from. It was from behind a locked door. We get it unlocked and see Karen topless. How are you not embarrassed? She was trying to kiss John. He had called for help because Karen was chasing him around and trying to seduce him. I was shocked and gagged. The in-laws were disgusted and Cara's father was furious. Karen rushed to get reclothed while Cara's father was screaming at her, asking what in the hell was happening. I helped John back to the ceremony, and the in-laws called for security to get Karen removed. Well, long story short, she was removed while Cara's father yelled at Karen, calling her a cheater and saying that they were getting divorced. I mean, I probably would have divorced her before this point, to be honest, but like, okay, it's fine. Like, in general, the Karen in this story is like pretty sucky. Was she really beautiful or something? Like, honestly, yeah, maybe she's a beautiful woman or she was a beautiful woman, but like, who would want to be married to someone like this? The ceremony had finally begun. The groom had a smile on his face, and Cara's father had calmed down. The ceremony went well and the reception was a blast. We partied, we ate, and we had the time of our lives. After the wedding, John and Cara's father explained to Cara what happened before the ceremony. By the time they were telling her, Karen had already moved in with a relative of hers. The venue had sent the father the security camera footage of poor John being chased by the topless banshee. Not a banshee, another banshee, oh my god. Ban the banshees. Cara was livid. She called her mom and screamed at her for the constant judgment over the course of her life, calling her shameless and cruel. After that, Cara's father filed for divorce, kept the house while Karen a few personal items. Even with Karen's protests, there really wasn't much she could get due to the security cam footage. I honestly have a really funny image in my head. Like a beautiful but also aging woman running around, flopping about, dressed kind of like around her buttocks, chasing after a man that never wanted her. Ever since then, Cara cut her mother off and John have lived happily in wedding bliss. They invited me and a few other people to celebrate a year of happiness and the downfall of a witch. She does sound like a witch. That's just like can't handle the fact that she's getting a little older. Like that's really what this is about. Mother was probably really gorgeous when she was young, and she's really feeling almost like she needs to overcompensate for the fact that like she feels that getting older means that that's, you know, her worth kind of receding along with her hairline. But this is the thing about putting all of your worth into how you look. As soon as you start to lose that, you're gonna go nuts. Case in point. I'll tell you who does something like this. An insanely insecure mother who's jealous of her own daughter because this daughter is probably way more gorgeous than her, period. You should be proud that you made something like that. You know, she's got your genes. Beauty fades, but cunts are forever. Ding dong, the witch is dead and the video is over. I know, so sad. See you in the next one. Subscribe!